Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. Today we're talking about New Year's resolutions, but not about setting any resolutions. It's more about why I stopped setting resolutions, as well as what I do now differently to set goals, because I'm a goal setter and I set it throughout the year. I don't just set it at the beginning of the year. Every month, every week, I have goals and things that I want to get done. I love newness, and if you've watched any of my videos, I've talked about before how I love a new week. I love Mondays, I love the first of the month, and I love New Year's. I like newness. I like the start of the day. Like, I try really hard to get my most productive things happening at the beginning of the day, beginning of the week, beginning of the year, right? Or beginning of the month, or whatever the case may be, because I know for me, that is when I have the most energy. When I first wake up, if I could get like 4 things done in the morning, that's amazing, because that is when I have the most energy, the most focus, is at the beginning of the day. That's part of the reason why I fast sometimes, because I notice when I do eat, then it slows down my thinking, it makes me sluggish. And so because of that, I tend to fast until I'm done with work, and then I eat in the evening. So I love newness, and so New Year's resolutions was my thing. I did the vision boards, I've done the list of goals, and I still do that, but it just looks different. I used to do the vision boards. I would write down a list of like resolutions, and this year it's gonna be the best year ever, and and not that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I just noticed that it would be such like a vague thing. My vision board, I ain't gonna say that. My vision board has come true. Quite a few things on it have come true, and I still enjoy the idea of a vision board. But when I would write down resolutions, they were very vague, very much, I'm gonna make so much money, I'm gonna lose all this weight, I'm gonna date these people. And it just was one of those things where there were things there that I truly could not control, right? There are goals and there are things that I want to get to, but it was very vague and it wasn't really based in anything. And so I've kind of moved back into my goal setting, which I've always done. I'm a list person, but I've moved back into goal setting for the new year, but I do it just like I would do it every other, month, quarter, whatever. So I have goals that I have for the first quarter, I have goals that I have for this month, and then I have things that I can do to try to hit those goals, and the things that I can control, I make sure I have a list of those as well. So I wanted to talk about, like, I let go of resolutions and I've gotten deeper into goal setting, and I want to talk about the 3 things that I think are really important when it comes to goal setting. So number 1, I am really big on setting intentions. So every year I set intentions. Typically it's like 1 or 2 things that I want to work on throughout the year. I'm very big on setting an intention for anything that you do. If I'm doing a date night, I want to set an intention. If I'm hanging out with friends, I want to set an intention. If I am spending time with myself and focusing on my energy, I want to set an intention. And so I'm really big on, being intentional about how you proceed throughout the year. So what do I mean by an intention? An intention is just, what do I intend to do and gain, and how do I intend to show up throughout the year? And so my intentions this year are consistency, because that is something that I've struggled with. If you've watched my YouTube channel for a while, I have been on YouTube for years. Way back when. But it's always been, I get on, I post 4 or 5 videos, I get off, I get on, I post a few videos, I'm not on for 2 years. It's just like this ongoing cycle. But I love it. Like, I truly love making videos. I truly love talking. I have like a list of probably 100 topics, 100 different topics. And that's like, I feel like probably not even me exaggerating, 100 different topics of things I want to talk about, things that come up in session, things that like my clients struggle with, that I feel like, oh, that's something I want to share with other people. And so I know that consistency is one of those things that'll help me, and just me getting my brain around just doing it because it's something that I need to get off of my chest, right? Or even consistency with, like, moving my body. Like, I don't necessarily say go to the gym. I go to the gym sometimes I don't. Sometimes I dance in my room. Sometimes I go for a walk. But just being intentional about moving my body and things like that. Like, that's where I want to focus my consistency on. When I choose to do something, I make it a part of my life. I make it a habit. And I've done it in the past, where there are certain things that I would even speak to, saying, like, I'm so proud that I was able to continue to do this. I had a podcast for 5 years. I did not think that was even possible. And we recorded almost every single week, every single Wednesday for 5 years. And this is me wrangling people to come in and do the podcast, and everybody's scheduling and all that kind of stuff. And I did it for 5 years. We're going to pretend like y'all didn't notice that light just came on. There are certain times when I felt like I have been able to show up in that way, and just once it becomes a part of my schedule, it just is what it is. But I also feel like I have a what's the rebellious part of me that's like, if I don't want to do it today, I shouldn't have to do it. And I need to get out of that. I need to say, because this is who I am and this is how I show up for myself, right? And of course I want to be here for others and give content and not take care of, but help people on their journey and things like that. But the reality is I need to be committed to showing up for myself, and I need to be consistent with myself. So that is why that is one of my intentions of the year. It has been my intention before. And even last year, I don't really beat myself up too much, because I feel like last year I did way more as far as like content and things like that than I did the year before. I think the year before, I think at the end of the year I posted on YouTube, and I posted on Instagram, and I was just like, I posted 3 times this whole year. I'll try to do better next year. Last year I probably posted 10, maybe 6. But the point is, it's a work in progress, and I understand that. And so I'll go into some things that might be, or one of the other aspects that I use with goal setting to help me figure out like how to continue to grow and do better at it. So my second intention is self-energy, and focusing on tapping into, honing into, and being very aware of my self-energy. And if you don't know what that is, I am a parts worker, and so I do internal family systems therapy with my clients and also with myself. And a big part of it is tapping into your self-energy, which is basically your intuition, your core, who you know yourself to be, and really knowing how to lean on that more than those parts that have been developed over the years, or because of trauma, or because of your experiences. And so this year I want to do a better job of really focusing on my self-energy. I'm pretty good at it, I will say that. Let me just say this, I'm no nonsense, so I don't know if that means I'm good at discerning, or if it just means I just don't deal with a lot of people's BS. But I feel like if something doesn't feel right, I typically can move myself out of it, or I find not even having to like put a lot of effort into it, I just pull myself back a little bit, and then it kind of falls away. And so it doesn't even take a lot of effort. Once I've decided, no, this isn't right for me, I don't have to do a lot of work to let it fall away. So I just want to tap more into that and be more aware of that, because I do feel like there are some areas where I struggle because I let other parts of my personality kind of run the show versus letting that self-energy run the show. So that's something I'm going to be working on. So first thing, what are your intentions, right? If you could pick 1, 2, or 3 intentions, I would say 1 or 2 for the year. What word would you describe as your intention for the year? What do you want to gain from this year? What do you want to be in everything that you do, right? I want everything to be based on me being consistent and showing up on a regular basis. And I also want it to be based on my intuition and what I know is right for me. So that's why those are my intentions. The next thing I think is extremely important when we're talking about goals is your values. Sometimes we don't even know what our values are. And so I have a very clear understanding of what my values are. And what I mean by values are, what are the things that really are important to you, and when you make decisions in life, this is what they're based in. And I think that's extremely important for us to know as we are talking about goals, as we're talking about going into the new year, setting ourselves up for success. It's extremely important that you understand what are your values, and you can identify, okay, these are the things that in life, not just this year, but just in life, these are the things that really ground me and really are the reasons why I move the way I move, because these things are so important to me. And so you want to be able to identify your values, and then you also have to define them. So what I did, I actually went to this workshop for therapists, and they gave us a list of like 40 values, and we go down and cut off half the list, and then you go down and cut off half of that, and you just keep going until you get to 3 values. And I got to 3, and my favorite part of it was when we kind of talked about defining it, I had values that other people didn't have, or they have values that I didn't have, but when we defined it, it was kind of the same. It just, we defined them in different ways. And so I think it's really important for you to identify your values and have a definition that works for you, and get clear on that definition. So my values are relationships, safety, and freedom. They all are extremely important to me. They are the core of what I do, why I do what I do, why I'm a therapist, why I share on social media, why I'm trying to get all these products and things out there to the world, is because this is what I do. I love relationships, not only as like a career choice as far as being a relationship therapist, but my relationships with people in my life. I choose who I have a relationship with. I don't let anything dictate whether or not I have a relationship with someone. I have a relationship with my family members. I have a relationship with my friends. But just because you're a family member does not mean you get to have a relationship with me, right? Just because we've been friends for years does not mean you get to continue to have a relationship with me. I'm very clear and very specific around who I build relationships with. I care a lot about my relationships. And so it does take energy, and it does take, time and all of that. And so because of that, I am very specific around who gets that energy. But building relationships, helping people understand themselves within relationships, all of those are just extremely important to me. And so when I speak about relationships, I'm thinking about family, I'm thinking about romantic, I'm thinking about friends, I'm thinking about business. I have so many dope therapists that I have built these friendships with that I never would have thought, because I'm typically an introvert. And so because our personalities matched, and because they may be more outgoing than me, then we've honed these relationships. That's amazing. And so I do think that there is something to be said around like knowing the value. And for me, relationships is just a awesome one. And I love it because not only does it work as far as like my personal life, it also works within my career, which is why I chose relationship therapy. And even as I am shifting a little bit, still within relationships, but shifting more toward helping individuals define what type of relationship they want to have, understanding family dynamics, understanding who they are so they can be their best selves in relationships, is still all the same thing, because my brain is always going to work in systems, and it's always going to work in the idea of who you are in relation to other people. The other value is safety. I define safety as creating safe spaces. I define safety as making sure I feel safe, feeling safe in my body, feeling safe in my home, feeling safe anywhere I go, while also creating safe spaces for other people. And this is something that I pride myself on. If you speak, I've actually gotten into it with people before, because, there may be topics that I'm like, hey, we shouldn't be talking about that. And they're like, what do you mean we can't talk about that? Like, this is you. We talk about everything. And, people feel so comfortable talking to me about things, which is perfectly fine. But we have to understand that there's a time and a place. And, maybe, I want to make sure everybody feels safe, not just these individuals, because I'm there. And so that is a big thing for me, is that I do want people to feel safe. I want people to feel seen and heard, and understand that there is inherent value to who they are and what their experiences were. And so there's nothing that can be said or done that will take away the fact that they have this inherent value. And because I try to pour that into other people, including clients and my friends and whoever else is in my life, then I get to create these spaces. So my podcast was a safe space where we talked about everything, and we talked about sex and relationships and personal things and all of that. It's on the internet, but we talked about it. For now, it might be taken down shortly. And my therapy room obviously is a safe space. My friends, when we get together, it's a safe space. My partner, like, these are all extremely important to me, that I create safe spaces for any area of my life. If you're going to come into my life, you're going to be safe. If you're going to be around me, you're going to be safe. If you're coming to me as a client, you're going to be safe. And so I think it's extremely important, because we often struggle to find those spaces, right? And when we don't have those spaces, that means it makes it difficult for us to grow. It makes it hard for us to, and I know people are like, well, you have to grow out the discomfort. Sure, but sometimes we still need to know that there's a safety net there. And if that means me helping you tap into your own safety net, and me helping you tap into, like, you got you, right? And if you don't got you, I got you to an extent. I can't have you all the way because it ain't my job, but I got you to an extent. But you got you, and you can take care of you. Me helping you create your own safety is extremely important to me. So safety is such an important thing. And I think about it in all ways of, like I said, my body, my space, other people's bodies and spaces, relationships and conversations and emotions and all of that. It always has to be a safe space. And so I'm even very big on, of course, I work with couples. And so that's one of the things we start on early. Hey, when we're in here, I'm going to have limits to what we say, how we say it. I'm going to point out, hey, why'd you say, I want to make sure that people are able to share without feeling like they're going to be punished later, or that there's going to be any like negative consequences just because they shared their thoughts and their feelings, even if you disagree with it. So that's something I really, really work hard to provide for anyone that's in my space, or anyone that's in my presence at any time. And the last one is freedom. Freedom is my value. And when I say freedom, I mean freedom across the board. Again, it's easy to, I guess, to find things when you put it across the board, but I want to live a free life. I am working really hard to live a free life. I want to live free financially, where I'm not burdened by debts or, living expenses, right? I want to be able to live a life where I have passive income that can pay for whatever. So I'm not necessarily bound to one particular thing. I love doing therapy, but I don't know if I'm going to love it in 20 years, right? And so I want to make sure that if I don't, then I have the freedom to walk away. Or if I don't, I have a freedom to pivot, because I've set myself up for success at the time that I do love it, right? And so that's what anything, I have 30 million career ideas of things that I would like to try at some point in my life. And now I'm already doing them, right? But if you only set with, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, and you don't create an environment for you to be able to grow and for you to be able to like live freely, then you're stuck in it at a time when maybe it won't work for you, right? Who knows what will happen to me as life goes on. So I want to make sure I set myself up to still have the freedom to pivot whenever I need to. I also want to have freedom as far as like thoughts. I want to be able to be open to different things and learning all the time. And I'm already kind of very much taking in information all the time and always want to know more and more and more. But I want to be able to learn and grow and not be bound to any thoughts or beliefs that maybe weren't my own or that came from other people. I want to have the freedom to change my mind. I want to have the freedom to be able to feel one way one day, read a book, take in some information and say, hey, I thought that way, but now I have new information. Now I feel differently. And it doesn't make me flaky. It doesn't make me inconsistent or anything like that. It's just as we gain information, as we gain new information, we can let go of old beliefs. And I think sometimes we struggle with that because we really think this is what I've always thought. And so I don't want people to think I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever the case may be. But the reality is that's what you knew or believed when you had the first part of the information. Now you have more information. It's okay for you to change. So I want to be able to have freedom of thought. For me, being able to do what I want to do whenever I want to do it is freedom, right? That means I'm gonna eat healthy and I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna do all this stuff. But then if I feel like I want to go and eat a cheeseburger, I'm free to do that. And if I want to go and sit on my couch for the weekend because I want to watch movies all weekend, I'm free to do that. But I'm also finding this balance of like the freedom to choose both, right? And choosing what's best for me. And again, that intuition that I'm honing into. The last part of goal setting that sometimes causes some issues is the fact that we sometimes have blocks, right? When we have certain things that we want to do, there may be emotional or mental blocks that's stopping us from doing it. If I say I want to start a business this year and the year ends and it's 2024 and I haven't started a business, sure, maybe you don't have the time, but the reality is there probably was a block there that was telling you not to start the business and telling you there was something wrong with your idea or it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be or whatever the case may be. And so we want to tap into those blocks. We want to tap into understanding what is stopping us from being able to get to the level that we want to get to, right? If we're in a relationship and we want to have an amazing sex life, right? What are we doing to stop ourselves? What are the blocks that are there that are stopping us from being able to explore, to be able to talk about, to be able to feel comfortable in our body, right? And so it's extremely important because they impact, your blocks can impact you and impact you getting to your goals. And so then when you feel like you're stagnant, you're not really moving, or you aren't able to reach those goals, it could be because of the blocks, okay? So the way that you know you have a block is if you always feel like you're chasing the same goal all the time, right? If it's always, okay, next year I'm going to date more. Or next year I'm going to spend more time with friends. And next year I'm going to, and it's like, oh, I didn't have time. Well, I didn't have time and I didn't have time. And it's like, well, if that's really your value, right? If your value is relationships and your goal is to spend more time with friends, what is the block that's stopping you? And you can't put it on anybody else. You can't say, oh, well, my partner gets upset when I hang out. So why aren't you standing up for yourself? Why aren't you speaking up for what you need in your relationship? Why aren't you being honest in, hey, I love you and I'm here for you, but I have to be able to have some time for me and I have to have time to build other relationships with other people, right? So you have to figure out what is that internal block? What is the fear? Are you scared that they're going to leave? Are you scared to be alone? Are you scared of how they're going to react? What is that block that's happening? And if they do leave, what does that mean, right? If they leave because you wanted to spend time with other people, is that a you thing or is that a them thing? So why are you letting that control you? Okay, so really understanding when you feel like you're in the same cycle and you're still trying to get out of this cycle, be money blocks. That's something I really want to start talking about more on this channel. There are so many things around money and mental health and money and relationships and all of that. There are a lot of blocks when it comes to money. A lot of us struggle when it comes to money. And so, we want to be able to acknowledge, like, I have a block when it comes to me making more money because in my childhood, these are the things I experienced. Or when I make money, people make these comments. It makes me uncomfortable. Or I don't see myself in that light or whatever it is. So again, identifying the blocks is extremely important. And you want to start addressing them. You want to start understanding what is the source? Where does it come from? Is it your own or is it somebody else's? How do you get that out of you? And then moving on, right? And I can't spend the video talking about that because that's a whole other thing. But if you're interested, let me know. So those are 3 things. When you're talking about goal setting, you want to make sure that you understand what your intentions are for the year. You want to understand what your values are, that your goals are rooted in, that this is who I am and what's important to me. And so I want to make sure my goals are aligned with that. And you also want to be able to acknowledge and recognize any blocks that may be coming up for you that's making it very difficult for you to actually obtain those goals. I have been having this workbook on my brain for a while, but because I had other projects that I was working on, I was like, I have to organize myself because I'll have 5 things going on at the same time. I've been thinking about doing like a little quick, easy workbook that has just some ideas around as you are setting yourself up for success, whether it's for 2023 or for the month that you're in or whatever, like things like this, like identifying your values and how do you set intentions and how do you define your values and what are blocks that are coming up and what do you do when you have a block and what can you do to work on a block throughout the month so that you can reach your goals, right? So if you would be interested in that type of a workbook to help you kind of get clear on your intentions, your values, and the blocks that come up, let me know. I do have a free resource, like I said, that I've been working on. It's an ebook that is the 7 beliefs to unlearn about relationships. I'll link that down below as well if you're interested in that. I hope this was helpful. I hope you can understand, like, nothing wrong with resolutions, but you just want to make sure that you're doing it right and being specific. You want to make sure that it's rooted in who you are, meaning your intentions, your values, and recognizing the blocks that could be stopping you from meeting those goals. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all the things, and I will see you next time. That's all. Bye.